is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mellow Mondays podcast. Today, wanted to do kind of a little more in-depth look at just kind of living in an RV during the winter. It's definitely something that I never thought I would do, and I know I've talked about it kind of on the podcast before, but wanted to kind of maybe share a little more of the nuances, tips, and tricks. I have a lot of people who watch just my RV YouTube videos, so thought it might be something interesting for everybody. Coincidentally, I woke up last night. I think I'm looking out. We got maybe, I don't know, maybe an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches. Hard to say. Nice heavy wet snow overnight. So I'm gonna have to go. I'm up pretty early today. I'm gonna have to go and kind of. I don't think there's enough to plow. But I may have to. Not may. I will have to shovel all the walkways and stuff, and kind of might drive the gator around and just kind of pack some of the snow in. It's real wet. Like I can see it melting off the side of the RV right now. So shouldn't be too big of a deal. But yeah, this is kind of the reality of living in Colorado. The past couple days, there's been like I could see the grass everywhere. It was crazy, and that was for like 3 days. And now we're back to snow. So Colorado in the winter, it's pretty cool though. I will say, like I was a little I don't know. I've just never lived somewhere where we've gotten like that much snow this consistently. Like there's been literally these 4 days with no snow, and since Thanksgiving there's been snow on the ground. So it's kind of crazy. It's nice being able to go snowboard and do all these fun winter activities. Like it's a little different than the Midwest, just in the sense of like it's like you get that one nice storm, maybe two storms a year. Here it's like, yeah, we've got snow every day, so I don't know, it's fun. But with snow comes some challenges with the RV. And honestly, I was a little nervous about the winter, like especially the heat situation. I don't love running like propane. We have a propane heater in the RV. I'm just not a huge fan of like having to run the propane all the time. There's always possibilities of having an issue with it. So whatever. Kind of nervous going into this season. Like, how much are we going to have to run the propane? Like, the thing with propane too is it's pretty expensive right now, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. So it can really add up throughout the winter. The nice thing about our situation is that we don't pay utilities for the site that we stay in. So we're not actually having to pay electric. So because of that, we have a pretty good system with our space heaters. So we have 3 space heaters in total, 2 ceramics, one in the front, one in the back. And then we have a radiator space heater in the middle of the RV. And the radiator space heater is what we run 90% of the time. It's always running. Now when we leave for the day, I turn it down a little bit, just so it's not running full blast. And then I have a little camera, Wi-Fi hookup camera, so I can check on the RV when we're gone. But right now I'm around pretty much all day, so really able to look after the RV, keep it nice and heated. And then we were kind of worried about like lines freezing and all this stuff. Our bays are kind of below our wet bays, so our black tank, gray tank. You do not want those to freeze up. That would be bad. So we, kind of worried about those freezing, which we do. So we did some foam insulation, kind of skirting on the RV, which was a whole process. I was going to make a video on it, and it just like, it didn't happen. It was a longer process than I thought it would take. But it was good it's helped a lot more than I thought. It really helps retain a lot of the heat and really keep a lot of that cold off of the floor, which is where most of the water lines and the tanks and stuff are. And so we haven't had any issues with things freezing up, except for the only issue we've had with freezing up is there's this little check valve that connects to our freshwater tank, and it is like kind of it's kind of leaking, so that's a whole other thing that I have to fix. It's leaking into our freshwater tank, which is not supposed to happen, but it froze up one time with our water pump, which is only used for the freshwater tank, which we're not using. So it was mostly my fault. So what I did is added some antifreeze, into the freshwater tank and then suck that up into the water pump and then shut the water pump off, because then the city water comes in a little bit higher, so that antifreeze stayed in the lines right there, and we haven't had an issue since. That was also like, we've only had 1 week that was like really, really cold, or it was down into the single digits, into negatives overnight. Otherwise, honestly, it's been a pretty, I don't know, it's been a pretty mild winter. Like, knock on wood, I don't want to, I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, it really hasn't been too crazy other than just the snow. Um, I have a little, as you can kind of see here if you're watching online, little gauge here that I use for our wet bays. So bottom temp is the temp in the RV. Top temp is the temp of the wet bay. Is just a little Bluetooth, um, little thermostat thing. So that allows me to check the wet bays, and if it's getting down close to freezing, that's when I can turn on the propane heat, because we have heated wet bays, which is nice. But we've ran our propane heat like 4 days this year. We got a big tank from a company here in town. They do like big, I think it's 150 pound tank, so big tank. We've barely used any propane. Obviously, we use it for cooking and hot water heater and all that sort of thing. But as far as propane heat, which is what really draws a lot of propane, barely used it. But we didn't think we would need it this year, but we wanted to get it just in case. Like, the fear was like, if we get this really big cold spell and then we have an issue, like we don't have enough propane, it wasn't that expensive to get. Peace of mind. It was well worth it. But that's kind of what we do for the heating elements of things. Like, we really don't do, honestly, you can kind of see it in the background, the little tower there. That's the radiator space heater's been huge. If you live in an RV or even at home, the radiator space heater is the way to go. It's really efficient. It's a really warm, not a warm. It's a really like seeping heat. Like, it really just kind of fills the air. It's not a surface level heat. It really like kind of gets into things. So it's been a really good investment. Overall, I think, on the skirting, we spent a couple $100. I went with the thicker foam just because I wasn't sure this year. I may do a video on like what all that looks like at some point. I just haven't had time. But yeah, like, overnight we leave our door, some of our cabinet doors, especially in the bathroom, open, so heat can get in there to the water lines and stuff. But I mean, I don't know. I'm a little surprised at how the year has gone. I don't want to jinx it, because I'm sure there's going to be a storm or something where it's like, this is awful. Other than the issue of our fresh water tank filling up, which has nothing to do with, I think it maybe had to do with it freezing. So I guess that is the one issue we've had. There's this little valve and you can turn it, and then you can use the water pump to suck antifreeze into your water lines. So like when we leave for Thanksgiving and Christmas and that sort of thing, I drain the water lines and then I suck antifreeze into it. That just helps them to not freeze up if there's any residual water, especially since, you're gone for a week at a time. I don't like messing with it. I like peace of mind knowing, hey, it's not going to freeze. So I think what may have happened is it froze, and basically now when it's open, it should hold the water pressure. It shouldn't pass through like it is. It's a one-way valve, so it should only be allowed to be pumped out, not in. But I think maybe when it froze, that little washer inside, there's probably a little O-ring or something, probably got damaged. So I've got a new one on order. It's a really easy fix. Just some Teflon tape, undo it, put it back on. Other than that, yeah, things have been pretty good. We are having a lot of moisture buildup, especially when we shower or cook and things. So today I'm going to tackle kind of that project, whether it's either going to get a bunch of damp rid little containers to kind of suck some of that moisture, or I may just go ahead and buy a dehumidifier, just because, we got a couple more months. Let's see, January, February, March. Yeah, I mean, we got 3-4 months of cold weather, so we may just use that dehumidifier, just grab that and really suck some of that, because that's the one thing we're kind of worried about is, kind of that moisture buildup obviously is not good anywhere, but RVs are real prone to moisture buildup and allergens and all this sort of thing. You can get some mold and stuff too. So we're just trying to fix that problem, something that we've really only noticed recently. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we were a little nervous about how the winter RV living was going to go. I think the biggest annoyance is like the snow in the entranceway. because we have our boots, we have our normal shoes, we have our workout stuff. So it's like sometimes the doorway is super annoying. And if you go outside, then when you come back in, we always take off our shoes because otherwise it's gonna just get tracked everywhere. It's just kind of annoying. It's like if you want to, like last night I grilled, made some burgers, went outside, had to come back in, and just it's like it's this little thing, but it's annoying. But if that's the worst thing about the winter, I really can't complain. It's an amazing view today. I love the snow, and it's just it's pretty cool living somewhere. I've never experienced a winter like this where there's just snow every day. We've also had a really good snowpack this year in Colorado, so maybe a little, well, not a little. It is above average, like 50% above average as of now. So hopefully it keeps coming. Another storm coming in on Wednesday. Yeah, bunch of snow overnight. So yeah, bunch of snow, and we're figuring it out. So if you have any questions, or if you have an RV or living in an RV or whatever in the winter, I don't know, reach out to us. Maybe we can help with something. But really the main thing is don't let your water lines freeze and don't let your wet base freeze. And if it gets real cold, run our propane heat. We have extra blankets on the beds. I got a new blanket for Christmas for my grandma, and I have not been cold once, and I've been hot most nights. Like it is, it's actually been really nice. So that's been clutch. And yeah, we're just kind of just hanging in there, just getting through the winter. I'm gonna go shovel some snow and maybe do some plowing, depending on how much snow we got. And yeah, edit this video and get it out for you guys. So we'll, as usual, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. And this has been another episode of the Mellow Mondays podcast. Peace.